Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Sorry for our delay here, but there's been a lot to pull together the documents to share with you today, because people can say a lot of things, but documents actually show what has occurred in this instance. So, my name is Gary Gardner, G-A-R-Y-G-A-R-T-N-E-R, and I am a spokesperson for Dave Roberts. Dave and I have a history together. I've known him for 3 or 4 years. I ran his successful campaign for county supervisor in 2012, and I've remained with him a friend and a close advisor to him. So, as I increasingly heard about reports that were in the media, I told him that I wanted to come and help him to clear his name. Right now, you should be receiving a copy of the claim that has been filed by Diane Porter, for those of you who don't have it. They're counting them out now. And I'm going to share with you documents that are relevant to the claim against San Diego County that's received a great deal of media attention. There are false reports about Supervisor Dave Roberts that are contained in a claim filed against the County of San Diego. Statements have been made about Supervisor Dave Roberts and members of his staff by Diane Porter. They are false, defamatory, and will be refuted by the statement of witness statements and documents, some of which I'll be providing to you today. Throughout his entire term, Dave Roberts has held himself to the highest ethical standards, and he has done nothing improper, unethical, or inappropriate. So what I'm going to do with you is I'm going to go through some of these documents. So does everyone have the claim? Yes? No? Okay. And I want to point out that this is a claim against the County of San Diego. There's been no official lawsuit filed. This is a precursor to a lawsuit. It gives the county time to respond to the claim, and then a lawsuit could be filed. The first issue I would like to talk with you about is the reports of an inappropriate relationship with one of Dave Roberts' staff members. There was absolutely no inappropriate conduct, sexual or otherwise, by Dave's policy advisor, Harold Meza, and Supervisor Roberts. Harold Meza came to the supervisor's office and inquired about doing an internship. And he was brought on as an intern in the Escondido office. He served it for 11 months interning while he was going to Miracosta and working his way through college for 9 years. After the 11-month period, he had done such a great job that he was considered for a staff position, and he was ultimately hired by the supervisor for that position. He served as a policy advisor and a community representative. Some media outlets have unfairly categorized him as a driver and chauffeur. He is not a driver. He is not classified as a chauffeur. He's a policy advisor and a community representative. He has a professional position in the supervisor's office. A chauffeur is somebody who takes you to an event, drops you off, and then waits for you and takes you to the next event. What the aides to the supervisor, including Harold and other aides, have done, they take the supervisor to the event, they staff the supervisor. When people have constituent problems or complaints or issues, they take notes on the back of the business card, and then they follow up with that constituent or person, or give it to the proper staff person to handle that. That's part of the job. And in Harold's case, because he speaks Spanish so eloquently, he served as a Spanish language translator for media interviews as well as for constituents who spoke Spanish. And it was also his responsibility to figure out a route to get the supervisor to as many meetings. Dave Roberts is probably the most active supervisor in San Diego County. He attends from 6 to 10 community meetings, government meetings, and events a day. He leads a very active schedule, and he's been said to be the hardest working supervisor in San Diego County. So because of that, he was oftentimes driven to events. So at this time, I want to hand out to you a declaration by Harold Mesa from today. He says, "My name is Harold A. Mesa, and I'm providing this statement under an oath of order in order to provide the truth in response to false statements and reporting made about me. I am a private person. I have been falsely portrayed by a former fellow county employee, which has been wrongly reported in the local media without any input from me. I make this statement as a request to that same local media to give my truthful statement the same amount of publicity as was given to the false portrayal of me. I also challenge anyone who disputes the truthfulness of my statements as made by me to provide their own statement under penalty of perjury. I am a 26-year-old college graduate from an immigrant family that worked my way through college on my own. I earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in history from Cal State San Marcos. I began working for Supervisor Roberts in August of 2013 as an intern. I was able to work my way up to be offered in May of 2014 a paid position, and I now am the policy advisor / community representative. Although I, along with other staff personnel, have driven Supervisor Dave Roberts to various county events, I've never been merely a driver or chauffeur for Supervisor Roberts. I never engaged in any inappropriate conduct, sexual or otherwise, with County Supervisor Dave Roberts. Any suggestion that I did is a lie. Supervisor Roberts has always conducted himself with me and with others in my presence in a courteous and respectful manner. While attending a county event that were booked by others, that were all double occupancy for those attending the event, males with males and females with females as far as I know. On that particular occasion, I was booked into a room with 2 separate beds with Supervisor Roberts. All that happened was that I went to sleep in my own bed. There was no sexual activity of any kind. It has been said that there was a second occasion of sharing a room together on a trip to Raleigh. That is a lie. I was not on that trip. Also, it has been falsely stated that I was spoon-fed by Supervisor Roberts. That statement is silly. Let me be perfectly clear about this. I am a heterosexual male. Supervisor Roberts has made it clear to me and others in my presence that political activity is not to be conducted in the office of the County Board of Supervisors. I have never been directed to conduct political activity for Supervisor Roberts while on county time. I declare under penalty of perjury, under the laws of the state of California, that the foregoing statements are true and correct. And I sign this statement in San Diego County, California, on the date shown below, and it's signed by Harold A. Mesa on 5/21/2015. That's today. He did it under oath, so I'll have to check and get you a copy of the notarized version. Okay. As part of that packet that you've now received, there is a letter from the San Diego County Water Authority. Supervisor Roberts went on a tour of the Eastern Municipal Water District Colorado River Aqueduct. It's an inspection trip that's done 3 times a year, and they invite different members of government bodies to go on the tour. He went on that tour, and when they showed up, they were assigned a room together, as every other person on the tour was assigned. So he did not he didn't request a room with his staff member. They assigned him because they were from the same office. So this letter describes what took place that day, and it's what everyone else experienced. And we know other folks that were on that tour, so if you want to talk to them and confirm that that's what took place, you can do that. Okay, well, you said, is it typical to take a community staffer?
A community rep, a staffer at the level of community rep. Is that who
Yeah, it's not untypical. It depends who's staffing him. Harold Meza staffed him a great deal of the time, but he didn't staff him all the time. Other staff members staffed him. And I'll tell you why he ended up staffing him primarily as a sole staffer. But before that, I just want to point out to you that there's a log here, or not a log. It's a sign-in list, attendance list of everyone that attended a meeting at the Brawley Inn for the Lions Club on March 14th. In Ms. Porter's claim, she states that he and Harold shared a room at that particular Lions Club meeting. Dave is a ranking officer in the Lions Club for the region, and he's very active in supporting Lions activities. So if you notice on the first page, the fifth person down is the second. It says Dave Roberts, and it says he was representing San Diego Live Well Club. And then if you look at the very bottom of that page, the second to last person is Kimmy Roberts. No relation to Dave Roberts or the other supervisor Roberts. She went on that trip with Dave Roberts, and Dave drove her in his own vehicle. And Harold never went on that trip at all. So the other document that's there is a text message, which is the last page that you have. And Diane Porter said, "How was the ride with 3 people on a table in the Prius?" And then she talked about something else. I can pick you up that morning. But anyway, Dave Roberts in blue, because it's from iPhone to iPhone, says, "Just Kimmy came to Brawley and the Prius worked fine. How about we meet at Lake Poway Park at 7:40 a.m. or so? Do you have directions and that for another scheduling item?" Then he said to ignore the email address above. And then Diane Porter responded, "I do. They sent you a parking pass I will print out that day." Then Diane Porter says, "How come no Harold?" So my point is that Diane Porter knows that Harold Meza did not even go on that trip because she learned of that during this text message exchange. So for her to go and put in her claim that inappropriate activities and behavior was going on and that he went on that trip as an example is an example of the complete and outright lies that are contained in her claim.
So you're saying that there was not anything more than a professional relationship between the two?
That's correct.
Well, I'm looking at an email right now from between Diane and Dave Roberts. Where Dave is saying that Harold's going to keep him warm. I mean, what is your response to that?
Yeah. In the course of sending text messages, as we'll show other text messages that took place, people make, statements and stuff. And that particular statement was, if you see the whole context of the email, it was said in a joking manner because Diane is asking him, about the cold weather that they're going to experience. I think, was it New York or Washington, D.C.? Yeah, in Washington, D.C. And that was just basically a funny statement. And what does Diane Porter say after that?
She has an exclamation point and a crying face.
And a what?
A face that's emojis. I don't know how to describe the emojis.
Yeah. So that statement was said in jest. It did not signify any kind of a relationship between him and Harold Meza. So the bottom line point of this is, the bottom line point of this is that Harold Meza is a straight guy. He doesn't have an interest in other men. he's interested in women. That's his orientation. So it is unfair to him to to create lies about his sexual orientation. It's not fair to him or his family or his girlfriend that he's dating. Okay? So for her to knowingly do that is not fair to him, and it's unfair to not tell the truth.
I don't think we're questioning that. I think what we're questioning is just the things that are said, because he even says Harold and I are sharing a motel room in this exchange as well. Is that also a joke?
Could you hand me that?
Is that also a joke?
Could you show me that, please? Thanks. Appreciate it. Hold on, Wendy. Okay. Yes. Okay, so let me just hold on to this. I'll return it to you.
I know, but you know.
Could I just hold on to it for a minute?
Do you need it to actually
I do.
answer the question?
I do. Yes.
I mean, I'm trying to get the question
I
answered.
do. I'll give it to you in just a second.
All right.
Thank you so much. Okay. Well, I need to know what you're asking me about, right? I mean, there's a lot of text messages. We have hundreds of pages. You can imagine somebody who does scheduling and assists somebody is texting all day long and night. So what they're referring to is they are referring to the trip by the County Water District to the Colorado River Authority. And on that particular trip, Dave did not know that he was going to be sharing a room. When he showed up there, they had a clipboard and they read off who was sharing rooms with whom. There were other people there from San Diego County who also were assigned rooms with other people. And they didn't assign men and women together, they assigned people of the same sex. So he didn't know that. So he here is saying, cool, Harold and I are sharing a motel room, because he didn't know that. He's sharing this with Diane Porter. Okay? Mind you, Diane Porter, who claims that she had a difficult relationship and was not treated well by the supervisor, as you see in this text message that they've handed you, she's photographed here with Dave's partner, Wally, at the San Diego Opera. Okay? She was actually invited to go to the opera because Dave was out of town, and they thought it would be nice for her to attend. And there's email exchanges back and forth. He picked her up, and she's at the opera. Okay, so excuse me, Wendy. There's no. She claims that Wally called and asked her about sharing a room. Wally knew that they shared a room because Dave tells Wally, everything that's going on. And he knew that. And he was with Diane Porter, who was going to the opera with them.
Why is Robert not here to answer these questions?
Why is he not here?
Yes.
Because we are putting together the documents to share with you. There's a lot of documents. There's a claim against San Diego County, and there's potential litigation. So he is being advised on what he can say and not say. And very soon he is going to be speaking to the media because he would like to. He's very frustrated that he can't speak to you. But as you know, when you have a threat of litigation, you need to be careful what you say. So what we wanted to do was to get the documents to show you what occurred, and we'll have more documents for you next week. And then Supervisor Roberts, as soon as he can, will be speaking to the media because he has nothing to hide and he wants to speak to you.
So I'm looking at conversations about planning to go to Hawaii, and he's talking about sharing a bed with Harold. I mean, I gotta wonder,
what is that?
I'm looking at text messages to Diane. He says, Kimmy wants to go to Hawaii too. Harold shares my bed. I mean, what's going on
There's
here?
a March 1st email too where he's going to Brawley. He's arranging to go to Brawley, and he's asking to set up a hospitality suite. You may have seen it in the claim. And he's saying, Harold's going to share a room with me. Great man. What does he mean by that? He's a great man.
Yeah. Well, you need to understand that people in the course of text messaging, I think we all do it actually. You don't think about necessarily someone looking at your text messages, and people joke around. Okay? Excuse me. I'm not done speaking, so don't interrupt me. Okay. So when you're doing text messages, sometimes you joke around. And Dave has a good sense of humor. Dave is very happily married. They have 6 adopted foster kids, and they have a very good relationship, and they've given these kids a great opportunity to have a new life. He's not having another relationship, but he can joke around just like we joke around at times, and that's all it is. It's as innocent as that.
How appropriate is it to joke around about sleeping with a subordinate?
I mean, he's not saying he's sleeping with a subordinate.
I mean, he's saying he's sharing a bed with him.
But he's
Is that
implying
appropriate
that he
conversation in any context with a subordinate?
For a public official?
I'm not going to really answer that. Okay. I told you what I said about that. Okay. So let me return these to you. Okay. Very good. All right. So so I would also like to share with you in October of 2013, October 30th of 2013. And this is what precipitated staff members staffing Roberts at almost everything. He was going to an event that evening at the Jasmine restaurant, and he parked his car. He was driving himself. He wasn't being staffed. And that particular night, as Fox 5 reported only, he had an attempted stabbing by someone. The person was arrested and later committed to the Patton State Mental Hospital and has now been released. The person obviously had mental health issues, so he didn't really want to promote sharing that story because of his, interest in protecting letting the guy work through his issues. But it was decided for his safety after that point that he would be staffed almost at every event, because for his safety and to make it safer for him and more efficient for him to go to these events. So the next issue I'd like to talk about is the baseball cards. So, yeah, if you hand those out. So Dave was given a copy by a friend of a baseball card that actually you're being handed, but it has Governor Pete Wilson's photograph, and it says Governor Pete Wilson, State of California, as a state seal. And then it has a quote from Pete Wilson on the back, his address, a biography, and something about his public career. If you look at the two cards, basically you see that they're very similar. They basically were, one was, the idea was taken from the other. Okay. So regarding the baseball cards, there was no inappropriate use of county money to produce those cards. And we have in this packet letters or memos from Dave's then Chief of Staff, Glennis Vaughn, where she is informing him that the original design was rejected by the legal counsel on concerns that it doesn't promote the work of the county and may appear to be campaign related. And she was suggesting that on the back that they promote the county's Live Well efforts, because San Diego County has the Live Well initiative, and it's a big program. So that's how they designed this card, and that's what was on the back of the card. She also then tells Dave that they revised the quote on the baseball card to promote a county program. The card remains the same, and at the back will reference Live Well does this work. Okay. Then the next document is from the printing company, DeFrance Printing, and it was ordered by Diane Porter, these cards. The next document is the opening remarks for Dave when he kicked off the Mira Mesa youth baseball first pitch. So this card was used out in the community for kids and adults who were involved with youth baseball, and it was handed out at that event because it was something that kids like. Different organizations and people like to produce baseball cards. So the whole baseball card issue, it was basically the county staff, Glennis Vaughn, actually took the lead on this, and she promoted getting that job done, and she produced the cards. and she went through the proper county departments, and she got the proper authority to produce them. So there is no wrongdoing, there's no misappropriation of money for those baseball cards.
How were they passed out? Why was there something left over?
Because an individual, a friend of Dave's, saw the cards and suggested to him that he might want to double check and look at them because, since his picture was on the front and stuff, they just wanted to make sure that it was appropriate. So he decided that he would have her put them in his drawer and not let anybody use them until he had an opportunity to really review them and make sure that they were fine, which then he determined. But in the meantime, Diane Porter took them home with her, not at his suggestion. Okay, and then
Who did he speak to get a review? He mentioned that he was concerned about it. Who did he go back to?
so those cards were compliant with county rules. He didn't handle the cards. His chief of staff handled the cards. So you might ask Glennis Vaughn this
He
question.
said that he was concerned that they raised an issue, that he wanted to go back and double check. Did he go back and double check with anyone?
That I don't know. Okay. The last issue I'd like to deal with today is the charge of hostile work environment by Diane Porter. So I'm going to hand out some copies of text messages between Diane Porter and Supervisor Roberts. The point of these text messages are that up until the day that Diane Porter left her job, she was texting Dave Roberts with very positive text messages and seemed to have a very cordial and good relationship with her boss. Does everybody have that? There's also references in here to this seeming difficulty between Diane Porter and the Chief of Staff, Glennis Vaughn. So on 220, Diana's, everything of hers is in gray. How are you today? Need anything? Dave says, all is well. Diane says, awesome, so weird without you here. And then she sends a picture of some of the staff at lunch, including Diane, who's in the corner, cut off there, Harold Mesa, and two other staff members, including, I think, Lindsay Matsukawa, who's on the end. And then she says, and then Dave says, and I miss you, all of you, keep it up. And then Diane says, yep, building a great team mentality, and Dave says, wonderful. Then later, Dave asked her to call him, and he says, and then she says, I told you I need to go mobile one day, I'm doing a good job in making you, I am doing a good job in making you happy. And then she talks something about something that Glennis said about, I guess, Mainshine having an interest in possibly running against him, and Dave says that he doesn't appear to be interested. She says, okay. So then Diane Porter says, so am I making you happy? And Dave says, very, very happy, with a lot of exclamation points. She says, yippee, you give me heart attacks when you don't answer right away. Then the next day, she's talking about being homesick with her kids and more fun and a sinus infection that she couldn't get rid of and that sort of thing. And he tells her to get well. And then Dave later says, your family, exclamation, and she sends a smiley face. Then on the 22nd, Dave's he's going by the Kennedy Center, I guess, in Washington, D.C., and she asks to get pictures. His camera's full, that's right, and there's back and forth about that. And then later on the end of that, and under that end of that email exchange, she says on February 22nd in the evening, I miss you, boss. And he says, I miss you now. Get those kids well. And then 2 days later, I guess, on the 24th, she says, "How was your day?" "Great, yippee. I just had acupuncture." Something about Greg Cox catching a flight and further things of that. Then on the 25th, he asks her to find out what Glennis thinks about something. Then we get to later on the 25th at 2:20 in the afternoon. She says, "Thanks, boss." And she sends I guess something from the internet. It's a large chart. It talks about 12 outstanding personality traits of a great boss. And it talks about thinking positive, delegating, being honest, communicating, inspiring, and all those various attributes. And Dave writes back, "Wow!" exclamation. And Diane Porter on February 25th, 2015 says, "You to a T." So she's basically saying, she's sending him that 12 outstanding personality traits of a great boss, and she's saying that Dave is that to a T. What I'm trying to show here is that for somebody who says it was a hostile work environment and didn't get along with her boss, the text messages don't show that.
Do you have any response to the Valentine's Day card that Dave and Harold sent to Porter together because they love you and
I will in just a second. Okay. So on the next page, they continue on about some other things, and then we go to the following page, 311, and basically Diane Porter is talking now. This is the day after she claims that there was a meeting in the supervisor's office between her and the chief of staff, Glennis Vaughn, and they called Harold Meza in, and that was that point that things went south for the chief of staff. So Diane Porter is saying, "I don't trust her now. I am scared of what other stuff she is saying." And then there's some address she's giving him, I guess, to go to an appointment. And then Diane Porter says, "The more I think about it, the more I think about her twisting my words around this whole load of unnecessary drama, the more pissed I am." And she asked him to call her. And then continue on the 12th, or the following day, she says that I need to tell you something. So we just had scheduling meeting on Tuesday, staff meeting today. She starts going off on me. She's referring to Glennis Vaughn, and I haven't updated her on the calendar. And Dave just tells her to keep smiling. Diane Porter says on March 12th, "It was embarrassing. So much so that Lindsay texted me about her behavior." They're referring to Glennis Vaughn, the chief of staff. Dave asks, "Are there any other updates?" And she says, "No." She says, "Most awkward meeting ever, and everything we talked about on Tuesday, quote unquote, forgotten. Still in our meeting." Then we get to the next text message, which is this. I guess Dave and his assistant, Diane Porter, went back and forth with each other, and she was doing jazz hands, which is a celebratory expression, throwing up the hands as hooray, and then a lot of exclamation points. And so she's sending that to him because she's letting him know that's what that's what she's doing. And then she says that Glennis texted me she's staying home today, Dave says, and Diane Porter says that is strange, and Dave says very. And then Diane Porter says, and the printing yesterday, she ran out the door before me. That's a reference to, I guess, Glennis Vaughn doing a lot of printing of documents before she left the office and didn't return. Then the following day, on the 13th, she asks, "How was the ride with 3 people on a table in the Prius? I can pick you up that morning." And this is the reference to just Kimmy Roberts came to Brawley, and the Prius worked fine. And that's later where she asks about how come no Harold, and she knows that Harold did not go on that trip, but she still continues to put that in her claim, which is a complete outright lie. So then on 320, they're having back and forth, and she says, "You're always welcome," with a lot of exclamation points, jazz hands. My point of all this is that for an employee who says it was a hostile work environment, he was hostile towards employees in his office, and particularly women, this does not match what she's claiming. Then she talks about the kids at the school carnival. This lady is selling sage sticks to burn to get rid of evil spirits. Maybe I should get one and cleanse the office. And Dave says, get 1 dozen or more, we need it. And she says, ha ha ha, right. And then they continue, and she says, you're welcome, have a safe flight. Kiss the parents. Dave was going back to visit his family and his parents in Connecticut. So then on 3/23, she says, hope you're having fun. Let me know if you receive your text from Southwest. And he says, thank you. And she says, jazz hands again, which is telling him that she's very happy and things are great.
Can we get on to maybe talking about the other staffers, Brittany Shaw and the Glennis Bond?
In just a moment, yes. So then we get to 3:25, and there's further back and forth. And then we get further on 3:25 on the next page, and then she talks about, will we ever see Bertha again? They had a nickname, I guess, that Diane made for Glennis Vaughn, the chief of staff, and they called her Bertha. And then they talked about that. And then on the final page of these text documents, Diane Porter says, I know, but I missed you. And Dave says, aw. And then she says on 3:31, which is right before she left the office, you know I love me some Dave Roberts. So I think that if somebody's going to claim a hostile work environment, they should, be honest about that, because these text messages do not convey any kind of hostile environment. They convey a very cordial environment, a very friendly environment. And the Roberts Oliver family extended themselves. In fact, Miss Porter showered them with gifts. She brought gifts for the kids. She brought dresses for their daughter. She brought wine over, soap for the kids, and she brought their kids over often. She went to the opera with Dave's partner. That is not a hostile work environment. It seems to be a very friendly, collegial relationship and environment to work in.
We had 3 other people that have all made HR complaints. I mean, does that, it seems to conflict with what you're saying that it was legal?
I'm talking about the complaint today.
Yeah, I know.
The claim,
but
yes.
I'm talking about these other complaints that are against it.
Yeah.
Could you address those?
I have the next thing that we'll be given a document, and it's a resignation letter from Lindsay Wright, who was a staffer for Dave.
As a question, I mean, technically these documents are personnel records that aren't released. I mean, can you release the resignation letters from everyone else?
We're releasing this letter because it was relevant to.
Did you get permission from Lindsay Wright?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So the reason I'm releasing this letter is that Lindsay, who worked for Dave as a policy advisor and community representative, she says that over the past 2 years, I've had the privilege of working with you as your Health and Human Service Policy Advisor. I have the utmost respect for you and the continuous work you do in empowering our local communities in San Diego County. Your unbelievable dedication to bettering the lives of our county's foster children and enhancing the programs and services of the county solidifies you are one of their strongest and most sincere advocates. Thanks to the work and partnerships we created, we have been able to streamline the county adoption processes and help over 30 hard-to-place children find a loving home. You allowed me to work on policies that I felt strongly about, and for that I am truly grateful. Thanks to your confidence in me, we were able to successfully regulate electronic smoking devices in the county's jurisdiction. Through this work, we made San Diego a safer, healthier, and more thriving community. We took a stand to not allow these devices to renormalize tobacco use in the eyes of our children and youth. This is an achievement I am very proud of. Your unwavering advocacy for those suffering with mental illness is something I will always admire. Individuals and families have the chance to heal and move forward thanks to your work to implement the W&I Code 5270. You have ensured that all county residents can receive the treatment they need by expanding the in-home outreach team. Major changes have been made in this field thanks to your passion. I appreciate the vast confidence and trust you've placed in me. It is time for me to explore new opportunities, and I will need to tender my resignation April 16, 2015. It is without regret that I have had the opportunity to work with a forward-thinking, progressive leader. I remain yours in confidence and appreciate your support for my personal choice to resign. Sincerely, Lindsay Wright.
This is the same person in the claim, in Diane Porter's claim, that she says he offered a higher position, a deputy chief of staff position.
Yes.
She would go to HR.
Yes.
And say, is that claim also untrue that Roberts asked her to go to HR and say Porter's claim is untrue, or did he ask her to do that?
We're going to be discussing that as soon as we get other documents regarding that.
Gary, what is Diane Porter's motivation for the claim if she's been having such a good time, and the staffers have been leaving with good feelings? What is their motivation for not stepping up and supporting him? What is her motivation for filing the claim?
The question was, what is her motivation, Diane Porter's motivation, given the positive text messages and other communications between her and Supervisor Roberts? You know, it's really hard to know. She's filed a claim for $250,000. I would let people connect the dots there.
Are you have any suspicions that this is a Republican issue, a Republican attack with the intention of taking a seat in 2016?
I'm not really going to comment on that. I think that this claim has a lot of false. Everything in the claim that has been stated in the claim against the county. There's false statements, there's defamatory statements, and we are beginning the process of refuting these statements because, up till now, we've just had media reports.
I'm looking at something right now real quick that says, this is a text message from Diane that says, quote, Dave wants us to quit, then he can throw all blame on us, end quote. Then from Lindsay, that makes sense. He must be blaming me then because I quit. But I quit because I wouldn't lie and he offered me money.
Who is that from?
Lindsay Wright.
I'd have to see that. I mean, I haven't seen that. I'm just telling you, I haven't seen that text. You, Josh?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Josh. Yeah, this is the first I've seen this, so I don't really know about this exchange.
Did Dave Roberts accept a $1,000 a month car allowance, but use a county vehicle to get around?
Yeah, regarding the car allowance, I'm glad you brought that up, Wendy. Here's the deal with the car allowance, as far as I understand it. Hopefully I get it right here, because there's a lot of information. So a person can accept the car allowance, and then actually Supervisor Roberts' place in his situation, he took office and he automatically received the car allowance. He wasn't even asked about it. And it wasn't actually until last week that the county gave him a form to sign that had all the information and asked him to sign it. And they said, we should have given this to you 3 years ago.
So he didn't know that he was getting a car allowance?
No, he knew that, but he was not given the proper forms to sign that actually stated that. So let me tell you about the car allowance. So the car allowance works so that the following. So if a person receives a car allowance, in his case, he receives a $1,000 a month car allowance, that employee is not allowed to also have a car leased to them by the county, a county car, okay? In Dave Roberts' case, he did not have a county car leased to him. The car that he had and was used for the office was actually a car, it's a 2005 Prius, and that car was handed down from the previous supervisor that was in place before him. That was used by her office before, so it became a part of his office. And so that particular car was used not just to take Dave Roberts to meetings and government meetings and community events and that sort of thing. It was used by different staff members for them to go to meetings because it's environmentally friendly. and liability issues. It also saves from having to pay employees 56 cents per mile reimbursement, that sort of thing. So the car was used by employees in his office and also by employees to take Dave Roberts to meetings and to events.
Does he see that as double dipping in a public benefit, which is using the county funded vehicle at the same time as he's getting a $12,000 a year car allowance?
No.
That's not getting
No,
both benefits?
because the reality is, Wendy, is that Supervisor Roberts also drove himself some of the time to meetings. He was not taken out all the time by people. I would say 10 to 15% of the time, if it was something close by to his home in Solana Beach or Del Mar and someone wasn't available on the staff, he would take himself to those meetings. So that's why he felt that it was appropriate, use.
Gary, will Dave appear at San Leo campus of Miracosta College tomorrow as scheduled?
I don't really know his schedule.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Anybody else have any questions? Nobody else has asked. It's been dominated by the UT and NBC. Anyone else have any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. We will be having further documents that we'll release to share with you, and then Supervisor Roberts will be speaking to the media as soon as he's able to. We appreciate you coming.